I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome episode 37 of We Talking About Sports. Unfortunately, today, Roland and Justin couldn't be with us, but they will be back for the next episode. Today, I'm going to have a couple of people joining me on the podcast to talk several different sports. We got a lot to get into. I know that we didn't have a show last week, which was actually unfortunate due to the start of March Madness. I mean, it was perfect timing. Podcast days, Thursdays. March Madness started on Thursday. But we weren't able to get an episode out. So this week, I'm going to have a couple people join me to talk several subjects. I got Joby joining me for free agency talk. The NBA free agency has come and gone. Ended today. Some decent names got moved. Nothing major. I know Kyle Lowry ended up staying put. He was a name that a lot of people were talking about. But definitely a lot of movement. Some teams did get better. Some teams weren't that aggressive. We'll get into that with Joby. I'm going to have Roland Gonzalez joining me for MMA. We're going to talk a little bit about Kevin Holland and then about this weekend's pay-per-view. We'll get to 3 of those fights and an unretirement of a pretty famous female fighter. Let's see if she's capping or if she's really about it. And then finally, I'm going to have Marky joining me for some March Madness. We're going to talk about how our brackets look. I'm sure they both look terrible, but we'll get into the Sweet 16 matchups and how we expect it to play out after that. So we'll go ahead and start off with some NBA and Joby, and then we're going to get to the UFC. All right, man. The trade deadline has come and gone. I thought it was a pretty exciting day today in the NBA with the trade deadline. Some winners, some losers, and we got Joby joining me today to talk about some of these trades. See what you thought. I saw you put out a tweet early this morning, and you only had about 3 names that you expected to get traded today. What were those names?
I was really wrong. Yes.
I didn't bring you on here for
way
that.
off.
I didn't bring you on here just to tell you that you were wrong, Pap. I promise.
That's exactly why you brought me on.
No,
Pat.
that's the first thing I saw this morning
Just
when I
to
opened
drag
Twitter.
me through the mud right at the start.
That's the only thing I commented on today in Twitter. That's the only tweet I sent. I added Oladipo to the list that you had. What were the players that you had though? Remind me.
I had Oladipo. I had Gordon.
You didn't have Oladipo.
I had Gordon and Lowry. I thought for sure Gordon and Lowry were going to get moved.
Okay.
And then you said Oladipo as well.
Yeah.
And I was one, and then I was like, yeah, Oladipo too. So I was 2 for 3, but then there was way more deals.
Yeah, let's start with the team who it seems like they just had a fire sale today. They said, all right, full tank mode, fuck it. We're already down there. Might as well add up some picks. This is a decent draft. I don't know if any of the picks that they added are going to get them in, lottery position, but the Magic trade Vucevic to the Bulls for Otto Porter, 2 first-round picks, and Wendell Carter Jr.
So let me see here. So the Bulls get Vooch and Al Farouk's expiring.
Right.
The Magic get Wendell Carter, Otto Porter's expiring, and 2 first-round picks. This year's first-round pick is, I want to say it was protected.
Yeah,
so I'm not entirely sure.
I think the Bulls win this trade. I mean, I think the Bulls now are for sure a team that's going to get into the playoffs.
Well,
with the Hornets using the LaMelo Ball, I know they're still playing better, but that's a big move. They added an all-star.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right move for both teams. The Magic weren't going anywhere. They're committing to the rebuild. This is like you said, it's a loaded draft, or at least for sure the top 5 guys. Everybody's saying that. Pretty sure the top 5 in this draft are legit prospects who can really change a franchise. So And it makes sense. It makes sense for the Bulls in this to make a playoff push. Does it take the Bulls from like maybe playoff team to contender? No.
No.
But for you think this gets them in the playoffs. So I mean, it's an improvement. I think it's a good deal for
Levine and Vucevic is a good one too. It's a pretty
legit,
good one.
yeah. And people were saying that Markkanen was going to get dealt. He didn't end up getting dealt. So between Vucevic, Levine, and Markkanen, that's a pretty legit threesome offensively. We'll see what they do on the defensive end.
The rookie's decent. Patrick Williams for them defensively.
Patrick Williams is good. So it's a pretty good four right there.
The Bulls finally seem to have some direction, though, Jobs. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Billy D is a good coach. I think they'll make a playoff push. Charlotte might fall out now. So, and the Celtics, I don't think the Celtics got a way better with Fournier. So,
there's another guy. Although the Celtics didn't have to give up much for Fournier, there's another one of the three players that the Magic ended up dealing. Evan Fournier to the Celtics. For 2 second-round picks?
For Jeff Teague and 2 second-round picks. And Jeff Teague. So but here's my thing, and I said this on Twitter. So, I mean, the crunch time 5 for the Celtics, it's still going to be Kemba. It's still going to be Marcus Smart. It's still going to be Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Tice. So, Fournier doesn't crack that.
Tice got traded.
That's right. Okay. So, well, regardless, right?
I mean,
so now it'll be Mo Wagner.
You're not a big fan of Fournier at all?
I like Fournier. I'm just saying they're not going to have him. They're not going to have him in there over Smart or Kemba.
Right. I mean, I see that. I thought that they needed a big. I thought that's what the Celtics needed.
They did need a big. I thought. I mean, they just need more good players. The Celtics just don't have a lot of good players. Danny Ainge just fucked that up a lot. Like
lot of draft picks. I mean, Jaylen Brown and Tatum are good, but they had about 12 draft picks, right? And
they're good. What's that?
They had about 12 first-round draft picks, and they hit on Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They hit on 2 of them.
Yeah, that's it. Like, they don't have a lot of good players. All last playoffs, people were like, no, the Celtics, they'll get the Heat. And I'm looking at the rosters top to bottom, and like, yeah, okay, like if you're doing a draft of those 2 teams, you would say, all right, maybe Tatum and Brown first. I mean, it depends on which one you like, whatever. Then Jimmy Butler somewhere in there in the top 3. But after that, it was all Heat guys. The Celtics just don't have like more.
Because I side for Jaylen Brown over Tatum. I say that Jaylen Brown's better than Tatum.
You like Jaylen Brown better. I like Tatum better. But the real problem with both of those guys is they don't get to the line at all.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that Brad Stevens might be gone. I think after this season, Brad Stevens might see his way back to college.
Danny Ainge should be gone. That's the real person who should be gone. Brad Stevens is a good coach. But Tice, okay, so the Bulls also get Tice.
Right.
The Bulls get Tice, Javonte Green, Troy Brown, and cash considerations. The Celtics get Mo Wagner and Luke Cornett, and the Wizards get Chandler Hutchinson and Daniel Gafford, whoever the hell that is.
Gafford's a younger guy. I mean, that's not bad because Theis is going to be backing up Vucevic.
I don't get that for the Celtics. Yeah, I don't get that for the Celtics. So now the Celtics have Cornett, Wagner, and Tristan Thompson in their front court.
Yeah, I don't see it for the Celtics this year. And
I don't know who's going to guard Embiid there.
The last Magic player, it might be the best one of the 3, could be possibly Aaron Gordon, getting dealt to
that was the best deal.
It seemed like the Nuggets didn't give up much.
I mean, depends on who you ask again, right? Like Aaron Gordon is not a shooter. He's a slashing dunker, and he's good defensively, but he's not a playmaker. So
what did they give up?
Like they gave up Gary Harris,
who was hurt or not in the lineup. They gave up RJ Hampton, and they gave up a pick like for Aaron Gordon. And the Nuggets are a contender. The Nuggets were in the Western Conference Finals last year. Obviously, they lost Jeremiah Grant, and they're bringing in Aaron Gordon to hopefully fill that role.
It was a good deal for the Nuggets, and I was
like
going
it a
back
lot.
and forth with some people on Twitter because now Michael Porter Jr. doesn't have to guard Bron. He doesn't have to guard Kawhi. He doesn't have to guard PG. So they have a guy now who's big enough to handle those big wings in the West. And basically for the main team, right, which is Bron. They needed somebody to guard Bron because Michael Porter Jr. wasn't going to cut it. I mean, it's a good deal for the Nuggets.
The closing lineup's not that bad for the Nuggets now. You got Jokic, you got Gordon, you got Murray, you got Porter Jr. And I don't know who the fifth guy is. Maybe I don't know if it's Craig or who they got off the bench that's playing the 2 guard. But
no, Craig's in Phoenix. But it'll be Murray, Will Barton, Gordon, and Porter Jr. and Jokic, which is good. Yeah, it's a solid 5. Here, but the question is and this is the question with, anytime you do a trade, does that get you? At least that's what it should be for. Does that get you over the hump? Now, LA's super hurt, so God only knows what's going to happen between Bron and AD. Right. But if they're full strength, do you think the Nuggets could take them in a 7-game series? I still don't.
I still don't either. I still don't. But the Lakers aren't fully healthy. And I mean, I don't know how much home field advantage might matter, but the Nuggets have a chance at finishing a higher seed than the Lakers if that matters at all. I still see the Lakers above them. A team in the West, though, that I thought that made one of the sneakier moves, and they really needed this position. The Clippers send Lou Williams and I believe a 2nd-round pick to the Hawks for Rajon Rondo. Two
2nd-round picks.
2 2nd-round picks and Lemon Pepper Lou heading back to Atlanta.
Lemon Pepper Lou back in Magic City, baby.
Correct. And Rondo, the floor general for a team that has the pieces. They just needed a guy to run the show.
I thought a lot of teams made the right deals. Were they great deals? Like you could say the Nuggets gave up too much for Gordon if you're looking down the line.
No, I don't think so.
Jokic, I mean,
they didn't Jokic, even have to give up Bol, bro. Like they gave up.
They didn't even give up Bol, bro.
They didn't have to.
Everybody
give up
loves Bol. The good thing is that Gordon fits their timeline, right? Jokic is 25 or 26, however old he is. Murray, same thing. So, and Michael Porter's 22 or whatever he is. So he fits their timeline. He's already on a deal.
He's on a deal. He's not an expired.
So it's a good deal for the Nuggets. And that was a good deal for the Clippers. People say, Lou Williams is better than Rondo straight up. Sure, he's a more accomplished offensive player, but that's not what the Clips need. The Clips need somebody to take the ball out of Kawhi and PG's hands because Kawhi and PG, they just can't over and over and over and over initiate the offense. They just can't be doing that.
And Patrick Beverley is not that type of point guard either to,
he's
run
not.
an offense.
He's more of a 2.
Yeah, playoff Rondo, bro. I think it's a really good move. They add another vet to a team that I already think is full of vets. Obviously, his shooting has gotten a little bit better, but he just won a championship with the Lakers last year. He knows the Lakers. We still think that might be the matchup in the West. I think it's A plus. Like the Clippers doing this and not settling for what the 76ers did. All this hype about the 76ers and Kyle Lowry and this and that. And then they settle for George Hill. At least settle for Rondo. Don't settle for George Hill. I like it. I like it for the Clippers. It's not a watch bomb, but it's a very efficient move.
Yeah, George. Obviously, being a Spurs fan, George is not the type. George is more of a 2 guard. He's not the type to initiate offense, and that was really, you saw that a lot when that team back in 2013 in Indiana. That was really their problem. They didn't really have a real point guard. You would see Lance Stevenson initiating the offense a lot, and Lance Stevenson's an idiot, right? He would turn the ball over too much. So
he had some loose handles.
Yeah, but they didn't really need a point guard. You could still have Ben Simmons initiate things,
But
and at least George Hill gives them a ball handler Now they can have Ben Simmons be the screener, right? He can be that on-ball screener, and if George Hill gets trapped, which I doubt it, but in the event they force the ball out of George Hill's hand to Ben Simmons, now he's got the 4-on-3, and I trust Ben Simmons that short roll, man.
I rather have Rajon Rondo as that guy making the decisions than George Hill. I mean, I understand that they're both a point guard, so it's a ball handler, but Rajon Rondo just gives it's like a smaller Ben Simmons.
But like Rondo can't shoot and Ben Simmons can't shoot. You can't have two guys on the floor who can't shoot.
Rondo shot decently last year, bro, in that playoff run. He shot decently in the playoffs. Playoff Rondo takes it up a couple percentage points in the.
But we know traditionally Rondo can't shoot.
Right. So that's fair.
I would bank and being that Daryl Morey's the GM in Philly, there was no way he was going to say, yeah, let's put two guys together who can't shoot.
That's fair, but what's up with that? Like Daryl Morey didn't make a splash, not for Harden and not now for Lowry. I feel like the 76ers were losers. I mean, I like where they're sitting, but they didn't do much to get better and see that they're in very good position and let's go for it. Because if you go get Lowry, you're going for it. And Morey usually goes for it.
True. Lowry made way more sense than anybody to the Sixers.
Sure.
That made way more sense because at least Lowry can shoot.
Like maybe settle for Lonzo and not George Hill. I don't like the settling for George Hill, bro. I don't like that at all. And Morey, I expected a lot more from Murray.
George Hill shot really well from three last year in the playoffs. I think he shot like 46%. So I mean, that's what Daryl Morey's about, right? He's about guys who can shoot.
He's a good
Lowry made the most sense, but they didn't want to give up. They didn't want to give up Maxey and Tybal and picks. Yeah.
And so here's the other thing. I feel like they're valuing their players way too high. I mean, the Heat were in the same position
does that.
with Pat Riley valuing obviously Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and not making the trade for Harden, which now he's talking about Tyler Hero for Lowry. You were talking about Tyler Hero for Harden. Now you're talking Tyler Hero for Lowry. The value has definitely gone down on Tyler Hero, but the Rockets bailed them out, gifting them Oladipo. It was going to happen whether it came this summer, whether it came now. But the 76ers, for where they're positioned, I don't like that they weren't aggressive.
Okay, but who's right now? Who do you have the most faith in to come out of the East?
The Nets, 100%.
Still the Sixers.
You feel the Sixers?
Right. Well, here's the thing about the Nets, right? Who guards Embiid?
I mean, I think that collectively they can do it, and we'll see where Drummond goes, because if Drummond ends up with the Nets, it would be Drummond or DeAndre.
I don't know if Drummond – I mean, he's a body, but I think ultimately that crunch time five for the Nets is going to be Kyrie, Harden, Harris – KD, but who's the
DeAndre?
I know, but who's going to be
Jeff Green, Blake Griffin?
Probably either Jeff Green or Blake, right? That'll be like their crunch time five. None of those guys can guard Embiid. They're not going to roll DeAndre out there in crunch time minutes.
But who's going to guard KD? And who can guard Harden? And who can guard Kyrie, Joby? I mean, we're talking about a center, and then we're talking about
Ben Simmons can mess with either Harden or Kyrie.
KD. They're going to put him on KD.
But KD isn't healthy, right? And they can throw Tybal at KD. He's not gonna shut him down or anything, but Tybal's a hell of a defender. The only problem is now you have Tybal and Simmons on the floor together, and now the floor shrinks.
It would have to be Tobias Harris. Yeah, I just thought the 76ers should have gone for it. Moving on from them, Oladipo to the Heat, Jones.
Oladipo to the Heat. I mean, the Heat. I mean, the Rockets just didn't want to lose Oladipo for nothing. So I get it.
Exactly.
Olynyk's been playing. People say Olynyk's been playing better. Avery Bradley. Yeah, I mean,
you just had to get something.
They just, it was really nothing. I mean, the Heat kind of fleeced them, but I mean, then you're sitting there like the Spurs, and with your thumb up your butt, and then
and you're just gonna buy them out.
Buy them out. I just buy them out. Right. So did you want to lose the asset for nothing, or I mean, so they got I don't know. I mean,
like a pick
Avery
swap.
I like Avery Bradley, but yeah, I mean, Avery Bradley's a defensive. You know, I mean, at least he can play D, and that's about it. You know, so. I don't know. I mean, the Rockets are in rebuild mode, and I mean,
but this is more for Miami. Where does this put them in the East now? Adding Oladipo, because they're starting 5 now. I think looks pretty good.
Well, you've seen Oladipo more than I have. I mean, but I think his shooting numbers in Houston. His shooting numbers in Houston have not been good that much.
He's been trying to get to Miami since last year, though, Joe. I mean, if you got to think, if the guy likes the location, if he's finally happy where he is. I mean, he just got traded. They had said when he landed in Houston that they were going to revisit in a couple of months and see if they offered him the extension. He declined it. He wanted to be in Miami. You know what I mean? So along with Jimmy Butler, Robinson,
defensively, Defensively, it's a legit 5. I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was a crazy run last year. I still like them. You know, if Dragic is healthy,
they can guard Embiid. That's a team that can guard Embiid.
If Dragic is healthy, I like them. I would probably say that I would feel more comfortable picking between them, the Nets, and the Sixers to come out of the East. I don't trust Milwaukee, and I don't trust the Celtics.
I'm with you on that.
So, but I mean, we'll just have to see how he looks. If he looks like he's looked in Houston, now you have him and Jimmy Butler on the floor. Again, you can't have 2 guys on the floor who can't shoot in the playoffs. It's just not going to work. The floor is going to shrink. It's not like Bam's going to space the floor. It all depends on who. It depends on who becomes.
Right. They were also in the sweepstakes for Kyle Lowry. And do you think that Kyle Lowry would have been a better fit with them than Oladipo?
For sure. I mean, especially if Dragic with his health. I mean, you could put Dragic back on the bench. You could go Lowry, Duncan Robinson or Hero, Jimmy, Bam, and Precious if you wanted. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with Kyle Lowry, and for sure, Kyle Lowry can shoot. I mean, if Oladipo ends up being, what he was in Indiana, and then it's a great move, and I think the Heat can really make a push to at least challenge the Sixers or challenge the Nets. But if not, if he's a lot like what he's been in Houston, then it was a dumb move it seemed like a desperation move for the Heat.
But I mean, they got him really on the cheap. So I mean, desperation move or not, it was very cheap. It didn't cost them much, and I really believe that if a guy wants to be at a certain place, his play is going to benefit.
He'll turn it around,
yeah. So let's see. He never wanted to be in Houston. Look at Harden. I mean, look at Harden.
Look at Blake.
And Blake dunked his fucking first game. He hadn't dunked all year. So, Joe, let's wrap it up just with your Spurs. Let's wrap it up with your Spurs, man. I know they didn't make a move, but y'all were expecting
moves.
Joby.
It's all good.
Joby, now here's the thing. Why do teams tell a player just to stay away? Like, why would anybody be looking to trade for that player when they can know that he's going to be a buyout candidate and just be there on the free? I don't understand why teams do this with these players. That's why I think the Rockets just had to get Oladipo out of there. He sat out yesterday due to personal reasons. Like, they were out the door. PJ Tucker, same thing.
Personal reasons.
Right.
Reasons. Yeah.
At least it's not like Kawhi. Foot for Kawhi tonight. Foot.
Yeah. Foot. Yeah. I mean, it's dumb. Especially when you do it so close to the deadline, like teams are like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll trade for him. They'll just buy, just wait for the buyout. There's no point in giving up assets. I mean, you run the risk if you really want a guy, but again, it has to be a player with some real value. A Drummond, a LaMarcus Aldridge, Who else?
Is LaMarcus Aldridge real value, Joby?
He has value in maybe 15 minutes tops, and he has value for a team like the Heat who want to run, these aggressive defensive lineups, but can't have a big who's going to also clog the paint, right? So like the Heat, for example, let's say they want, now that they got Oladipo, right? And let's say, just for the sake of the argument, Oladipo can't shoot right now, okay? But he's great defensively. He's still great defensively. So they run Dragic, Oladipo, Jimmy, or let's say they go small. Dragic,
Right.
Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, and Bam, right? Well, Oladipo and Jimmy, if they can't shoot, they clog the paint, or excuse me, they shrink the floor. They can't get to the rim. Bam's going to be in the dunker spot. He's not going to space the floor, so they're not going to score. Let's say that's LaMarcus Aldridge instead of Bam. Okay, well now LaMarcus Aldridge can stand at the 3-point line. The hope that is he going to light it? I'm not saying he lights it up, but for 15-minute spurts, you can go small and still be effective defensively.
Okay,
that's the thing.
But so that's where we are with LaMarcus Aldridge. As a guy who's watched him with the Spurs, that's where we are with LaMarcus Aldridge. 15 minutes a game. Marc Gasol for the Lakers. Is that where we're at with LaMarcus Aldridge?
Yeah, he's 15 minutes tops. You run him out there for 3 minutes at a time just to give Bam some rest, and you can. I mean, you do. He's just a floor spacing big. That's it.
Right.
He's not. He can't defend
but
on the interior.
But a lot of people still think that he could still start on a team. For example, if he gets bought out and goes to the Lakers, I think the Lakers fans are under the impression he could start.
They haven't watched him. They have no idea. They're on something. There's no way.
I was having this debate with our buddy Mike, because he was like, Blake's done. I was saying Blake and LaMarcus Aldridge are in the exact same position, bro. Do you think or is Blake ahead of LaMarcus Aldridge?
I don't think Blake's lost quite the step that LA has lost. LA cannot be out there. I saw Blake block Bradley Beal the other night. So LaMarcus Aldridge is not doing that anymore.
Okay.
Like he cannot if he's out there. I mean, you can keep him out there for 3 minutes, but if he's out there for anything more than like 5 minutes at a time, you're gonna get eaten alive defensively.
Okay. The only move you all did
Teams
do,
will score at will.
You all traded a player that it didn't seem Spurs fans knew was even under contract with the Spurs for a guy with a
We traded a player who's never played for the team. He's never suited up in an actual Spurs game.
But the worst part is you traded him for a guy with a broken leg. Like what the?
Traded him for a guy with a broken leg.
What's going on here, Joe?
The whole point of that was to. I really think that was like an under the table handshake. Like, hey, like Pop did Steve Kerr a favor. Like, hey, we're over the tax. We need to get this. We need to get this guy's money off our books. Can you take him, please? And we're
Another
like, yeah,
team,
sure. Why
not? I was surprised. Some teams that I was surprised that stayed put and didn't make a move. The Warriors were one of them. I see them right there on the fringe. I thought that they could have done something to solidify themselves, at least a spot in the playoffs. And I'm not saying anything huge. I'm saying something like what the Mavs did. Add a JJ Redick. Add somebody. Act like you're trying. I don't know.
I mean, I really think the Clay being out really like just put a huge hole in their sales. Like they were like, you know what, this is probably another fuck it year. We'll see what we can do. And they didn't start out well. Remember, they got blown out by Milwaukee on opening night or on opening day or whatever, Christmas Day. They got blown out, and it was always back and forth, like win one, lose one, win one, lose one. And I'm pretty sure they just said to hell with it. Let's just wait till Clay's back. That's just tough though, man. I mean, an ACL and
back-to-back seasons of fuck it. Let's just next year.
Yeah, I mean. I'm guessing. I'm speculating, right? I don't know for sure. it would make sense to make a move because Steph's not getting any younger. Neither is Draymond, right? And Steph's already 33. So it would have made sense to try to go for it again. But the fact that they didn't.
The fact that they went for it with like Oubre, like trading for Oubre, but not go for it now. I don't know. I just thought that it was weird.
That's my point. Like I think like they made the move for Oubre thinking, okay, this guy at least he's not Clay, but maybe he can be 80% of Clay, and he wasn't even that. So
when they should have drafted LaMelo, like they had told LaMelo they were going to. That's where they
should have drafted. They should have drafted LaMelo.
But yeah, free agency where I mean, not blockbuster names, but some decent names out there.
I thought it was a good trade deadline.
Yeah, but I'm saying like there wasn't any mega stars out there that were just trying to get out mid-season. Wasn't the Kawhi trade like right at the deadline?
No, it was in the offseason. But I mean, the real move would have been Lowry. If Lowry had gone somewhere, that would have changed things up. Like you could probably say, okay, maybe the Sixers instead of the Nets coming out of the East. I mean, if LA doesn't get right, Denver could do it. I like that deal a lot for Denver. So that was the thing about it. You know, people were like, oh man, these are great deals, but like there was no one deal where you were like, okay, now it's different. For sure, we know now this team is the front runner. There wasn't anything like that. That's so fair. It just depends on what happens. How healthy is KD when he gets back? How healthy are Bron and AD when they get back? So we'll see. But I mean,
and
still
the path because if the Lakers end up in the 6 or 7 seed and they're playing the Suns or the Nuggets first round, maybe even the Clippers first round, I mean, the road just gets a lot tougher.
Yeah. I mean, if
you got to go through no, for sure, you still trust them, but you'd like them to beat up on the 7 seed instead of having to play the 3 seed first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But all right, Jobs, I appreciate you hopping on, man. I appreciate it. All right, that wraps up NBA. That wraps up NBA. All right, it's March, and I'm bringing a person who's very familiar with March for other reasons, partner. Not March Madness, but spring break, Marky. We're bringing a spring break. We're bringing the we talking about sports fantasy football champion, the recipient. His Jalen Ramsey jersey's on the way. Trust me, partner, it's on the way.
It's here.
But yeah,
where's your Josh Allen jersey?
Hey, relax. Deshaun Watson is still a Texan, but they're still.
He's too busy getting his butthole poked out.
Hey, bájale. We're not gonna do that on here, all right, Marky? We're not gonna do that on here.
Okay.
We're not even talking NFL here, but Marky joins me for some March Madness. We're gonna talk about how shitty both of our brackets look right now. Mark, what's up with you though, man? First time on the show. I know you won our fantasy football league. You're one of the.
My jersey.
It's on the way. Hey, I ordered from your cousin. Llega cuando llega, cuz.
Okay.
It's because with coronavirus and the borders being closed, you know, it's slowed down the process.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, but what's up? How you been? The Houston's very own.
Yeah, just up here in Humble. Well, Humble. The H is silent. So yeah, Humble. Just chilling, going to work every day, going out here and there, getting familiar with Houston.
Going to Rockets games?
Yeah, Rockets games. I'm a Rockets fan now.
How many Rockets games have you been to since moving to Houston?
Probably like 6, 7. I saw the Celtics most recently. I saw Jason Tatum that shot from half court, like at the end of the third quarter, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That happened.
Yeah,
that was a good game. They blew them out.
Yeah, well, just like your bracket has been blown out, partner, and my bracket has been blown out. Just who did you have winning it? Who did you have winning it, Mark?
I was a little biased.
Yeah, hey, that's the Garza way. Always a little biased.
I was a little biased, and I had Texas winning it all just because that would have been a great story.
I had Texas in my Final Four. I had them losing to Gonzaga, and I thought the bracket shaped up decently for them, man. I mean,
Definitely.
that
That was a horrible game.
was probably the worst game they could have played at the worst time they could have played it.
Like, I don't understand. If Shaka Smart,
So what's the deal? Does he
not
need to
on
go?
the hot seat? If he's not on the hot seat, I don't know what Texas is doing.
Well, I think he was already on the hot seat. I think the fact that he hasn't
Exactly, but so now after this loss, you gotta.
And what made it worse was the way UCLA handled Abilene
Exactly.
and all of their grit. I mean, listen, Abilene Christian has a lot of grit, okay? But grit can only take you so far, okay? After a while, the talent just takes over and it supersedes the grit. And Abilene Christian had no business beating Texas. No business. I'm very surprised Shaka Smart didn't get fired. I know I was telling Roland that the reason why I don't think he did is Texas was finally in the top 10. They were finally getting national attention. They were a 3 seed in the tournament. Like, they won the Big 12 tournament for the first time. Like, Texas was finally getting in the national mix. And if they fire Shaka, then they're starting all the way back at square one. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it, but at the same time, Shaka Smart has not won a tournament game while he's been employed by the University of Texas. And that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. The guy is still living off of his run with VCU, cuz.
Like, and that when they hired him, it was like, well, just give this guy like a chance, man.
It was a young guy. It was a young guy.
He's young. He's young, just like all these young NBA coaches have.
I wish it could have been like Brad Stevens. Yeah, I wish it could have been like Brad Stevens.
Yeah. So, but it's not it. I don't know.
And he's getting NBA talent, Mark. He's getting he's got guys going to draft.
What doesn't help us is that our one NBA talent is a one and done. So it's not like we can build off that. They just go. It's like they've been through all. So it's like if one of them would at least stay and maybe go through his junior year or something, we have something to build on with. Because every year we get one NBA talent.
One big man.
But it's not enough. Yeah. And it's always a big man. Mo Bamba. Who else?
Jared Allen
also.
Marcus Aldridge. I mean, these are just Shaka guys, but he always gets a big man. He's always got a big man on deck. I agree. I mean, look, Texas seems to be on. It's hard to say Texas seems to be on track, but things were trending in the right direction. Like the program was getting a face, they were getting an identity. Shaka grew his hair out. Like shit seemed to be starting getting refreshed, but it was a terrible ending.
It was.
Listen, in my Final Four, I only have one team still remaining in the tournament from my Final Four.
Me too. It's probably Gonzaga.
That's it. I had Gonzaga playing Texas, and I had Illinois. I had Illinois playing Purdue. And
the reason I picked Texas, I mean, Gonzaga's good. Overall, they're going
to win it all, bro.
Yeah, they are. They're too good. They just look like the best team out there.
At every position, bro. At every position, the guy can go.
It's kind of when Kentucky with AD, you knew they were gonna go.
I mean, but that team had everybody. They had like all first rounders. This team might have one first rounder. Jalen.
Who do you think? The only thing I believe that will give them comp is when they get to the national championship and they probably face Baylor. Yes, because Baylor can play D. And they can score on you.
Yeah, Baylor does look better. And the thing is, and we're about to go, let's just get into the Sweet 16 bracket. That way we can see like what team. So, on Saturday, it sucks that we don't got no basketball tomorrow. We got to wait all the way until Saturday. It was cool to get basketball on Monday because it wasn't expected, but then it sucked that we didn't get it back till Saturday. I'm golfing tomorrow since there's no basketball. Fuck it. Yeah. But Saturday, we got the Cinderella, one of the Cinderellas, Loyola Chicago, -6.5 against Oregon State. Oregon State, another team, no business in the tournament, but they won the Pac-12 tourney. And you get hot at the right time, you just ride the wave through March, baby. You just ride the wave. Oregon State took out Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State in the round of 32. And Loyola Chicago dominated Illinois from start to finish.
Yeah, and I thought Illinois was one of the best teams entering the tournament.
They were a 1 seed. They were one of the best.
I know, but I know, but like they had a chance to win it all. I made several brackets obviously, and I have them winning it all in one of them.
And one of them. How do you see this game going? Who do you think Oregon State keeps winning as a dog, or does Loyola finally get it done? I do think that it's a lot.
I think Loyola. Yeah, I do think Loyola gets it done, but I think
to win by 7?
That's tough.
By 7, Oregon State has been playing really good.
They are.
The Pac-12 got shitted on.
I think Loyola wins, though. I think Loyola wins.
I'm with you too. I think that their run, and the brackets opened up for them too because they took out the 1 seed.
And they can't face a better team, but Oregon State.
Yeah. So I got Loyola as well, and I really hope that they do. I know Sister Jean's out there too.
Yeah, she's their good luck charm.
Che viejita.
She's going strong. COVID's not going to stop her.
Oh, I lie. Another team, Villanova. They lost their star point guard still. Won 2 games. They whooped on North Texas in the second round. They're a big underdog here. Plus 7.5 to Baylor.
Baylor covers easily.
The Baylor Bears roll here?
Yeah.
I tend to agree. I really like what I saw from Baylor in the second round. They looked really sound.
Yeah.
They look like they're back to playing defense. The COVID shutdown kind of fucked up Baylor. That's what happened. They had a COVID shutdown towards the end of the season, and it really fucked them up. So I think that's one of the easier matchups. Maybe this next one also, but Oral Roberts has been upsetting everybody. And here they are catching 11.5 against Arkansas. Arkansas is a team that's been running up and down, but Oral Roberts, have you caught any of their games?
Yeah, I saw one of their games and briefly.
They upset Ohio State and they upset Florida.
But Arkansas likes to run, so what's the over and under there?
I don't have the exact number, but I think that it was in the 160s. They both like to run a lot. Oral Roberts at 1 through 5, they'll stretch you out, and that's what they did to those teams. They stretched them out, and they were hitting threes.
I saw Arkansas. Arkansas looked good against
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They whooped on Texas Tech. Just too much offense for Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tech had good defense, but they could only hold them the first half. Second half, they ran away with it, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But I would look at the over there, see what that looks like. But
yeah. And Arkansas's just too much talent, I think. Like they just gonna have the better athletes than Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is they're gonna need all their shots to be falling. And you know what? They have been falling because they took up the number 2 seed in Ohio State. And who's to say they can't do it here as an 11.5 point underdog? I'll be watching that game. I think it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be up and down, a lot of points. And then
you said 11.5 Oral Roberts?
Plus 11.5 Oral Roberts. That's chingos of points.
I mean, I like that.
For a game where you're going to see a lot of points scored?
Yeah. I think they keep it interesting at least.
Yeah, and the last game, wrapping up Saturday, your boys over there in H-Town, they squeaked one out against Rutgers, boy.
Yeah.
An and one to finally take the lead after trailing all game. Houston, and they're taking on another team who's just been hot all tournament and maybe the player of the tournament so far now that guards eliminated. Buddy Bayham has been balling. Buddy, that's triple B shit right there. Yeah. Buddy Bayham balling. That's triple B.
Like, I like him. I feel like he's gonna be a great role player in NBA. Just
he's an
shooter.
NBA player for sure. And he's a coach's son, bro. I mean, it helps a lot.
That confidence, bro. He has confidence,
and he's tall enough to where he can get his own shot, especially against these college players. Houston's defense is pretty tough, but the way Syracuse has been knocking down threes has been insane.
What's the line on that?
6
for Syracuse.
For Houston, Houston's favorite.
I know, but Syracuse is plus
6.
I like that a lot.
Right, and this is a tournament where we've seen the underdogs not only cashing ATS but winning outright.
I mean, in my bracket, if I'm just filling out the Sweet 16, I take Syracuse. I think they win.
You think they win? Damn it, boy. Well, Houston is a team who hasn't been here that often. You know, they do have very high expectations, but they escaped.
Syracuse zone, the Syracuse zone.
Yeah. And not only that, bro, like teams that are just grooving right now. Teams are grooving right now, and they're playing really well. They're playing really well.
Syracuse has been – I like especially Buddy.
Yeah, for
Gotta
sure.
be turning it up.
Moving on to Sunday, the opening game. We got the favorites, Gonzaga, minus 13.5 against Creighton. The Creighton Blue Jays. Creighton's beaten a couple of mid-majors. They beat University of South California, Santa Barbara, and then they beat Ohio. So they beat a MAC team and another mid-major team. Now here they are against Gonzaga, the overall number 1 seed in the tournament. And Gonzaga's just been beating everybody by 15 plus. I don't see any difference here. I see Gonzaga by at least 15.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they're just running away with it too.
Yeah, we don't got to spend much time here. Gonzaga's going to get through.
Yeah.
This next game might be.
Yeah. That's probably going to be the game of the night or the day.
Well, I don't know if we're talking about the same one, but the next game up is Florida State plus 2.5 against Michigan. I think that's going to be a battle. Michigan has had to come back. Last week they had to come back against Maryland.
Well, fuck. Is that forward for Michigan still out?
Livers is still out. Yep. Yeah, but they've been winning without him. But Florida State
unit,
yeah, Florida State is one of the biggest teams in the country. They're a veteran team. They've been there. The thing with Florida State is the coach, he just never really gets over the hump. And this would be the spot where you lose because you're losing to Michigan, a number 1 seed. I'm going to go ahead and go with Michigan, only because Florida State, this has always been the spot where they just take a shit on themselves and they don't get past the next round. So I'm going to go with Michigan. Plus, I like Juwan Howard. I like Dickinson, the freshman. They're a good team, man. I don't think that they win it all without Livers, but they're a good team.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with you there.
Next game up, Roll Tide, Alabama. Alabama's been playing well. Alabama that's their bracket. That Texas bracket, that's their bracket now.
Yeah,
Alabama against UCLA.
I think that Texas can beat Alabama too.
Yeah, they're a lot bigger than them, but Alabama's shooting has prevailed, and here they are as 6.5-point favorites against UCLA, another team who got in. You know, they were one of the first 4. They were one of the Wednesday
Alabama
games.
rolls.
You think they roll?
Yeah.
This is where the gas runs out on the UCLA train, partner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Roll Tide.
Alabama's too much.
I think that Bama wins too. I'm not so sure about the number. It is a lot of points, and it's 2.
I think they went double digits, but I don't know.
But yeah, you don't know. We don't know.
We don't know because fucking March Madness has been crazy.
This March Madness has taught us that we don't know shit. Even if you think you know, you don't know. I haven't even looked, but is there a perfect bracket still out there? You know how usually they would always have that perfect bracket. Oh,
yeah, but I think they're done.
There's no.
They're done. No.
Those too many. There's no way anybody had a fucking Oral Roberts up here. But the last game that you said might be the game of the weekend, and it's actually the battle of the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has been doing work in this tournament. Oregon,
and the fact that they know each other.
Yeah, Oregon against USC. These teams have already played twice against each other. Yeah, in the same conference. And the spread, I mean, minus 1.5. It's a coin flip game. It's a coin flip game. We know USC has the Mobley brothers. We know one of them is going to be a top 3 pick. USC just took out Kansas, and they handled them with ease. Oregon fucking demolished Iowa. Oregon didn't have to play a first-round game due to VCU being out with COVID. So Oregon is a rested team. I mean, both teams are rested with the 4 days, 5 days in between, right? So what way do you lean? And like you said, arguably the closest game as far as Vegas says for the weekend. Who you liking here? I'm sure that we don't get to see much. We don't get to see much of these teams, Mark, because they're Pac-12 teams. They play late at night. They play.
I know. But those brothers are fucking good.
The Mobley brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think USC takes it, but it's gonna be a fucking hell of a game. They know each other so well, so I expect it to be low scoring and just a dog game the whole time. Yeah, just dog because they know each other.
Oregon put up 95 on Iowa, but I mean, I think that there's no way they shoot that good again. They were
they just couldn't miss.
They couldn't miss shit. I mean, guys that hadn't shot threes all season were making swishes.
It was their night.
Neta, if you were wearing an Oregon jersey that day, you would have gone off.
I probably have one. I should go look for it.
Quack, 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 quack. Mark, out of the Sweet 16 that we just went over, can any of these teams give Gonzaga competition?
I think Baylor.
That's it? Is it just Baylor?
Yeah. I think Baylor, and then I don't think Michigan has enough when they meet in the Final Four. I think Michigan beats Alabama too.
What? Yeah, I think man, this is really Gonzaga's to lose, bro. I mean, this shit shaped up like so many 2 seeds out. Like this shit shaped up really, really good for them. The 3 seeds are out. They're 13.5-point favorites in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
If Gonzaga doesn't win it this year, va a haber problemas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because Jalen Suggs is one and done, top 3 pick. They do have a really good recruiting class, and I think that they got the best player in the country coming in this next year. So Gonzaga has put themselves on the map. But they gotta win it. They gotta win one.
Definitely.
No North Carolina.
They haven't won one since
they played.
Hayward was there, right? No, Hayward lost. Shit.
Hayward was at Butler, not a Gonzaga.
Oh wait. What the fuck am I saying? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, Gonzaga got to the title game against North Carolina, but they came up short a couple years ago. So this is definitely.
Who was it with?
Who did they have?
Yeah, who did they have?
I'm not sure. Now, I'm probably wrong, or I might be right, but I think it was the year they had Rui Hachimura.
Oh, okay.
Which was either 2 or 3 years ago, but they were in that title game against UNC, and UNC ended up winning it. But yeah, bro. So Gonzaga wins it. You see, no chokers.
Yeah,
chokers.
Yep, definitely.
Right. Bro, well, I appreciate you joining me for this. I know it's pretty last minute. Anything else before we get out of here?
Nothing else. Shout out Groove Funk. He
Who's
won the DJ Anwar.
Where's he from? He's from the Valley or what?
Yeah. He won best costume when he was like 11 years old in Bryan Elementary.
Oh, hey, he's a brave Bears. Come on. Pinche Groove Man. What costume was it? What was he?
He was a vampire.
Is that's what that image is on your shirt? I can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's funny. Well, shout out Groove Man.
Yeah. But yes, sir. Well, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, and your jersey's coming, Wayne. I promise you, Jalen Ramsey Rams jersey.
Yes, I already had the blue one, so they'll get the blue one.
It ain't gonna be the blue one. And the Rams have ugly ass jerseys, so it was fucking painful buying it. Wayne, no mames. I felt like I was just throwing money down the fucking toilet. How ugly those jerseys look. But
I know
you earned it, partner. You earned it, partner. You gutted it out in fantasy football.
It was easy.
You thugged it out. McCaffrey got hurt, so you won.
Yeah.
But you deserve it. But thank you for joining me, Mark. I appreciate it, bro.
All right, later.
All right, later, brother. All right, man. We got a big UFC pay-per-view this week, and I'm happy to bring in Rolando to help me talk about a little bit. Another MMA head. I talk a lot of MMA with Roland. And we got the heavyweights, the baddest men on the planet, baby, are in the small octagon at the Apex. I believe that this is the last pay-per-view that won't have fans. I know the next two are already planned with fans. So, Roland, I'm glad that you could join me, bro. How have you been? I'm
good, man. I'm good. Can't say I've been watching the embeddeds for UFC this week. I can't say I'm hyped like it was a McGregor fight, but I'm curious to see how this is going to play out because there's so many storylines and different ways it can go depending on what happens this weekend.
For sure. I've now started to save the embeddeds until Friday. I just watch them like when I get home. I watch all the embeddeds, watch the weigh-ins. Obviously that they do the real weigh-ins in the morning, but the weigh-ins just for show with the last face-off are usually at night. So I'll watch the embeddeds all in once. I'll just binge them, 30 minutes of embeddeds, the 5 embeddeds, and then watch the weigh-ins, and I'm ready for Saturday, baby. I'm ready.
Right? You just created your own hype film for it.
For sure. But this past Saturday, there was actually a fight pass, and a fight that had a lot of hype around it. Kevin Holland, man. Kevin Holland had that 5-fight win streak in 2020. Was up there for Fighter of the Year due to fighting 5 times and winning. But he fought a gatekeeper in Derek Brunson. A guy who, if you get through him, you usually become a champion. Robert Whittaker, champion. Izzy Adesanya, champion. The guys that have gone through him have become champions. Or have gone to fight for championship belts. What did you think, bro? It was a circus. There was a lot of talking like usual, but the fight just didn't go his way this time, and it looked different. It looked suspect, like doing all that talking and no fight at all. What did you think?
Shout out Kevin Holland. As far as, he's been in town lately. I think he just did recently here in San Marcos. He was at an MMA gym here doing some trainings there. Really? I happen to like Kevin Holland a lot.
I'm a fan too.
I think what happened to him, just breaking it down, I think his anxiety got the best of him. I think the moment caught up to him, having a main event, having to go 5 rounds. I think I know I personally, if I'm anxious and I'm in a situation, I start talking a lot. I sometimes over talking. I think maybe it just when you didn't get the first knockout in the first or the second, it started getting to him, and I think he kind of got taken down and just kind of just lay there and just waited for something to happen and didn't really make an effort to get up. So it was just his dialogue and watching him get taken down the whole time.
But if he wasn't talking, he was going to get taken down whether he was talking or not. You know what I mean? I think the problem was his takedown defense. It looked like the clear problem because Derek Brunson got caught in the second round. It looked like he was staggered. He was hurt a little bit, but I don't know if Kevin Holland, realized it, and Derek Brunson was shooting, half-ass takedowns and just getting them at will, man. He didn't do much to him when he got him down. It was a bunch of laying and praying. Kevin Holland was laughing at him from the bottom. He didn't really get beat up. It was awkward. It was very awkward. It wasn't very professional. He was being a showman, but he didn't lose, so it didn't look professional. I believe had he won, it would have looked amazing. It would have been on Sports Center. They were hyping up, all his trash talk throughout his previous fights, but the fights were going his way. You know what I mean? So it was cool. And this time he just got dominated. He looked like he didn't deserve to be in the main event slot. Can we agree on that? I know you said his anxiety and stuff might have gotten the better of him, but he looked like a deer in the headlights. He did look like he froze up a bit.
And I think that was pretty clear as far as his interview on Tuesday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday with Ariel. Like completely humbling experience. It all kind of kicked in for him, and then he kind of did the whole. It caught up to him how he felt like he let people down, and everyone was looking for him to go in there and do what he does. And maybe it was the moment. Maybe it was that humbling experience that he needed to be able to turn it back around. Just that first loss that he has now. I think now that he got it under his belt, he can really just get perspective and come back stronger.
It seems like it really did humble him, because I also heard on Monday's show, the DC and Ariel one, and DC was talking about how, he reached out to him and he even apologized to him, sorry for letting you down. He's like, whoa, don't apologize to me, just acknowledge that, you did go about it the wrong way and that you have a big hole in your takedown defense and it's got to be fixed. DC even said that Kevin Holland had, committed to going out to AKA and training with, that wrestling team and all the Russians that they have over there. It's not going to get better overnight, but you got to put yourself in an environment to where you're just getting taken down all day, and naturally you just get better at defending it or getting up faster, because like you said, he was just satisfied with being on the bottom, talking. He wasn't getting hit very hard. Every fight starts on the feet. Every round starts on standing up, but he was getting taken down at will was the problem.
Definitely. And I think it's kind of like what George St. Pierre said recently when he was talking on an interview where he was talking about just making yourself entirely uncomfortable And I think that's necessary for these guys who have one-dimensional games where they're either going to win the fight with a knockout a la Sugar Sean, and then if it doesn't go their way, if it's not playing out like that, anxiety kicks in.
When it gets tough,
I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Because they haven't been in rough patches in the octagon, and that's something that you can't really do with somebody like Brunson, who's been in there with everybody. Because I mean, even winded, gassed, he was getting the takedown because he knew where he had to go to win the fight. And if Kevin Holland, if it would have just kicked in like keep your distance, he was catching him on the feet, but he couldn't keep it there. So I'm a big missed opportunity for Kevin Holland. And if you're his corner, I mean, does he have a coach? What are we thinking about his coach? Because as soon as the rounds were ending, he was talking to Khabib, he was talking to Dana. He never got advice. In the 5 rounds.
That was going to be one of my next points. Exactly that. He didn't get any feedback. He didn't based off watching him, in my very unprofessional opinion, I think he just didn't know how to use his hips. He didn't know how to use his legs and just really control using his hips and legs, and just really everything was all upper body for him. He did try to do a little bit of work on the bottom, but it's like you said, Brunson's miles in the ring really showed. I mean, he did what he had to do and protected the gate.
For sure. Like, I mean, it was all just control time. And I mean, that's going to win you rounds. Get the takedown, keep him there, and you're going to win the round. For Brunson, I mean, he called out Paulo Costa after that. What do you think about that?
Great call out. I think that's a perfect call out for him, because Brunson, with the run that he's on, I think he's building his confidence. Maybe now as he gets older.
He came out ranked number 4 on Tuesday when the new rankings came out.
Wow, even makes the call out even that much better for a title run. I mean, I think his fight IQ in the ring is really just, I think it's a lot of the same thing that's going to happen in the heavyweight fight. It's going to be a lot of, I think now with Ngannou having more perspective from the first fight. I was just reading an article, and we'll go into that when we talk more about that fight. But I think for Brunson, that call out, I think, is great for him with Costa. And I think it will be pretty similar. I think a similar type of fight where Costa will go out and try to swing for the fences. And if it goes long, I could see Costa kind of gassing, and Brunson might be able to pull that out.
Brunson was gassed too. I see Costa getting him out of there, man. I really do. I don't see Brunson. He's very like if he gets hit though, like he gets wobbly very quick, man. I think that Costa would run through him. It's a good call out. It's a good call out because the guy's ahead of him. So anything else that you want to just finish off with this fight before we move on?
No, I think I'm curious to see what Kevin Holland does with this experience. I'm rooting for him. I love the guy. I love the personality. I love the unorthodox personality he has compared to normal guys who just go in there and it's all business, like Brunson. You kind of root for them. You kind of want it to get a little interesting. You kind of want the narrative to be written.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I will say is he won't be headlining any fights anytime in the near future. I think he's definitely got to prove himself for that. But somebody who has headlined a lot of fights in her career, her ex-career, now it seems like a resurgence. Miesha Cupcake Tate says that she's coming out of retirement and she's got what it takes. She's got the formula to beat the baddest woman on the planet, Amanda Nunes. Roland, to that, you say what?
I say that I was at UFC 200. I got to watch what Amanda did to Miesha and the way that she rearranged her face in person. And that was kind of rough. I mean, that was one of the harder fights to watch that day. Just because she got ran through. But I mean, before her 2 most recent losses, she's coming off 5 wins before that in a row. So you can't blame her for the confidence that she has coming back. The most recent loss was a decision to Raquel Pennington.
That's a bad loss. That's a bad loss.
It's all going to depend on, yeah. And I think it's all going to depend on who she picks for. Is she going to pick her opponent, or you know what I mean? Is she going to pick someone that's going to make her
get a comeback
get off
fight
the ground and get a couple wins under her belt?
Does she get a comeback fight, or does she get a title fight in her return? Because Miesha Tate is somebody who's been in Dana White's good graces for most of her career. She had, she was doing work with the UFC, I believe, even after she retired. So I mean, she's a big name. She's a draw. I mean, I seem to think that division's been cleaned out, and if she comes back, it's going to be for a title fight. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm sure she's been training, but she's a mom now. She definitely needs a tune-up fight. Definitely needs a tune-up fight.
Oh, yeah.
But I could see her just coming straight back for a title shot.
I think it comes down to the evolution of the fighters. You know what I mean? Like, it's like today they asked Dana White if Ronda Rousey would come back, and he was like, no chance at all, because the game has evolved so much. I mean, she was
passed her by.
She was unstoppable completely, and she doesn't have the skill set, the evolved skill set to stay and compete. I mean, she's always been a good businesswoman for the UFC. I mean, and so they kind of is her fight going to be in the UFC, or is she going to fight in one? Because I know she has talent. What is she, a talent manager there at one championship? So it's her fight would be in the UFC.
If she's calling out Amanda Nunes, I mean, Amanda Nunes titles are held in the UFC. I don't think she has a fight contract with the one. Maybe she's just, in somewhere in I wasn't going to say PR department, but I don't know. I would think she'd be doing PR for them, some sort of, or maybe advising. I'm not sure. I mean, she's been there. She's done that. She's been a champion in the UFC. She did it the right way. She fought all the tough fights. A fighter that, like you said, evolution. She hasn't evolved that much. She's from that era of Ronda Rousey, and when the sport was barely starting, when we were first watching females fight each other. Now they're killers in there. They're killers. So I don't think that it's a great idea. I mean, if she lost to Raquel Pennington. Okay, Raquel Pennington won't be standing in the octagon with Amanda Nunes anytime soon. So I just don't think that's a good idea. It is a draw. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to see how it plays out. I think I think it's for her sake, rather than jump right in there and get done up by Nunes again. I think it's in her best interest to take one or two tune-ups to see if she even has kept up. If her skill set has kept up.
Correct. I agree with you 100%. And sticking with the theme of retirement, we got somebody else coming out of retirement. Had to be the shortest retirement stint ever. Kazmat Chimanev targets a July return. Says he's got his eyes on Neil Steel Magny, which I think is a pretty good fight. Gatekeeper for that division, I would say. Neil Magny is a guy that you got to go through if you want to be fighting all the head honchos, even though Chimanev already had that fight against Edwards, in line. Smart, I think. This is a fight that you come back to. Neil Magny's not a guy who's going to kill you. He's not a guy who's going to, finish you in a devastating fashion. I think it's a good fight, and it's a good test. It's a top 10 test. Your thoughts?
Completely agree. I completely agree. I think it's so much better. I think it's better for Kazmat in the sense of the pressure of let's say Leon Edwards had played out. Had he won that, I think it would just jumped him into a whole different realm. I think he's getting the benefit of the.
It would have been a title shot, Roland.
They did to Sugar.
If he beat Edwards, he would have gotten a title shot.
Completely. I mean, right away. And I think it would have been the same thing that happened to Ngannou when he got his title shot 3 years into fighting. Like, he was 3 years into fighting in general. Like, and so comparison. Yeah, completely. And I think with Neil Magny, he's not going to sell out the arena, but I think he's another professional that the UFC really likes for business. He does what he does for Gatekeeper, and I think he's similar to Brunson. I think he's won a couple, feeling good about himself, and I think the better the competition gets for Kazmat, the more we can really see if he's a hype train, or and also I'm curious to see what COVID did to him. If is he gonna have that doubt in his mind now, knowing that his performance level of what he was capable of dropped for a while before he had to build it back up. I think that's going to be a good test to see. It's going to be very psychological for him going in there and seeing if he can have what he had before in the way he was demolishing people. And if he goes in there and he gets caught up in a long fight, a long 3-round fight, how's that going to go for him? If it goes long, will he have the endurance? Will COVID really show up and show us kind of what effect it had on him? I think that's some questions for that to be answered whenever it does play out. Is there a sure date on that?
Yeah, he just said he's eyeing a July return. So and the other thing is when you get in there,
they'll put it on the undercard of Dustin and Connor.
That'd be a good move. But if you're, that'd be a lot of exposure for the guy on a Connor card. The thing is, if you're getting in the octagon with Neil Magny, you better expect to be in there for a decent amount of time. Neil Magny's not a guy that gets finished pretty quick. I think it's a very good test, man. And I know Neil Magny was a guy that was throwing his name in the hat for the fight against Shimanev when he was trying to find a top 10 opponent before Leon Edwards. I like it. I think Neil Magny's a respected guy. You know, he's done his time in the UFC. He has a lot of fight minutes he might have hours in there compared to Chimanev. We're going to learn a lot about Chimanev in this fight. If he walks in there and he smashes Neil Magny, he's one fight away from a title. He's going to be fighting one of those top guys in a title eliminator. So I like this booking. I like the fact that he didn't get to jump the line that crazy. And we're going to find out a lot. We're going to find out a lot. And the last one, speaking of fights that didn't get booked and should have gotten booked, Justin Gaethje, the odd man out at 155. All the rumors were, you know, Chandler versus Gaethje for the belt because Poirier was taking the money route, going for red panty night number 3 with Conor. You know, Dariush has been booked with Ferguson, and Charles Oliveira was seeming like the odd man out. All of a sudden, Charles Oliveira, the guy who I think deserves a shot just as much as Dustin does. I thought it should have been Dustin versus Oliveira for the title. Obviously, Dustin had other plans. You know, good for him. He should get paid while he can. But Charles Oliveira against Michael Chandler for the 155-pound vacant title. Did you expect this? How do you feel about Chandler? Chandler with one win getting a title shot?
I think, do titles even mean anything in the UFC anymore? I mean, the title is just a guarantee that you're going to be on the good end of a paycheck and whoever you're fighting with. But I mean, Dustin, brilliant for taking the Conor fight. That makes the most sense. It's what the fans want to see. He gets paid again. He gets to do his charitable work with the money that he makes from the fight. Conor, I'm sure, will make another donation to his charity of $500,000, and it all works out for him. I mean, the belt doesn't mean anything. I think him knowing that he lost to Khabib and knowing what Khabib was, I think beating anybody else is just going to be like, you know, meh for him. And I think he just likes I think him and Conor like making money together. I think they have that mutual respect for each other where it's like, where are they going to bring their brand to who else? Because same thing with Conor, his brand is going to elevate anybody who comes with him. So it's a privilege to fight him. You know what I mean? But as far as Gaethje running into it, I just think Ali manages Gaethje, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting, considering Ali always gets his fighters.
These guys always get the title shot
really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always. And I think what I think it is Ali hasn't been managing Justin's social media as well as he does everybody else's. I mean, he doesn't. Justin tried really hard to get the Conor fight. But he went the disrespectful route. He didn't go the competitive business disrespectful. Let's agree to bash each other. He went straight for his character and personality. And Conor's telling him, "I'm not going to get you that money night. Well, if you come," he's like, "Come correct." He's basically, I think that's what happened. And I think after that, Justin Gaethje really didn't put his hat too far, hit his number in the hat as strong as he possibly could have. I don't think he came out asking for it as hard as he should have, maybe trying to force a situation with the banter that he can create.
Well, he did say that he woke up thinking he was training for that title fight. Come to find out, you know, the fight had been given to somebody else. And the thing is, like, it's very crowded up there at 155. He is coming off a title fight, a fight where we saw him not do much. I mean, everybody was talking about maybe Gaethje will put up a fight. You know, he has a legit wrestling background. The truth is, he lasted less time in there than Conor did. So
they all did.
Yeah, they all did. And like, not that the Conor fight was competitive, but you know, he lasted. Maybe that was Khabib just wanting to punish him a little bit more because of all the shit that he had been talking, and these other guys, you know, really hadn't. But I mean, we saw at the end of the first round, Khabib was about to finish Gaethje. He mounted him like his guard was butter. It was easy. So I'm cool with Gaethje not getting the title fight. I would have liked to have seen Gaethje against Chandler and you know, a number one contender, an eliminator. I think that would have been fireworks because I don't really agree with Chandler getting the title shot off of one fight. the winner of Poirier and McGregor will automatically fight, the winner of this title fight.
Oh, completely.
So that's what I have.
I think what happens. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. What happens with what?
Yeah, no. I think what happens with Rafael dos Anjos? Does he have a fight lined up? I mean, he's just there. I mean, he's older.
But
I don't think he's really a draw. But so you got.
He's a gatekeeper at 155. I think that's where he's at in his career now. Like they're trying to get him in there with Makhachev, because if Makhachev beats Dos Anjos, then he's ready for the top 5 guys. I think that Dos Anjos is Derek Brunson of that other division.
Agreed.
Although Derek Brunson is ranked number 4 and Dos Anjos might be 7 or 8 in this division, but I would like to see Carlos Diego fight
7.
I would like to see Carlos Diego fight who were we just talking about? Rafael dos Anjos.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they're trying to give that fight to Makhachev.
Does Paul Felder fight anybody?
Paul Felder's retired, or is he not?
I don't know. He's always on the fence. He's always
exactly.
Never, all of a sudden he'll take a 24-hour notice fight.
Too much retirement. Yeah. Too much retirement talk here, partner. Too much retirement talk. Misha, Kazimat, and Paul Felder. We need to start getting into the fighters that are active. We need to start getting into the guys that the hype is all about this weekend, man. So I got 3 fights for us just to, give random thoughts, maybe how you see the fight playing out and where the fighters go from here. I'll start with O'Malley. O'Malley coming back from that loss against Chito Vera, where he got his legs worked and he got stopped due to not being able to stand anymore. But here he gets a pretty favorable matchup. He's fighting Tomas Almeida. He's a minus 335 favorite. So I think this is a good return. Almeida, another guy who likes to strike, a guy who's gotten knocked out very often. I mean, the odds tell you all it is. He's a 3-1 favorite. I think that this is a great setup fight for O'Malley, and I expect him to do his thing.
Yeah, it really is a great setup fight for O'Malley. I mean, O'Malley's been taking the slow route. They've been nurturing him for years to bring him into top 10 so that he can really start flourishing. I was just watching a video the other day, and I just think the look on his face, the demeanor, that desperation was there, and his early on, that when Snoop Dogg was going crazy for him, he just had a different look to him. And I think
he was trying to get in, he was
desperate. He was desperate, and it was survival mode. And I think, and then they started giving him fights that would really help him out. And then they were like, all right, let's put your first test. Let's really get Chito Vera. Let's get him in there. Let's see what he can do. And then things played out, and O'Malley still rides this. I'm still undefeated because my nerve, and he didn't really beat me. And it's kind of, after a while, it's like, I think we have so much respect for people like Connor or Dustin who lose, and they're like, hey, it wasn't my day. I went out there, I did what I could.
They lose humbly.
When someone fights reality, I think it's hard to kind of see where it plays out for him. And I think for O'Malley, great fight. Almeida's coming off of 3 straight losses. He's lost 4 out of his last 5. I mean, before we got logged on here, I went back and I was looking at his record, and I was like, oh, I saw the Cody Garbrandt loss, and Almeida panics a little bit. He's willing to get in there and throw and strike, and when he gets caught, and I think O'Malley will put him away in 2.
And he's not a guy who's been very active. So, that 3-fight losing streak dates back to 3 or 4 years to his last win. So it's a setup fight. O'Malley's got to get this one done.
2016.
Right. So, I mean, if O'Malley loses this, we're going to learn a lot, and you're going to have to take that L. And another guy who's taken a lot of L's lately, I don't know what's going to be the co-main event. I know that, Ortega and Volkanovski got pulled from this. That was supposed to be the co-main. Volkanovski did come down with COVID, so that fight got pulled. I'm expecting Tyron Woodley against Vicente Luque to be moved up to the co-main event now. And the odds are staggering. Vicente Luque minus 250 favorite. Tyron Woodley plus 200.
Really?
To me, this just seems like a fight that if Woodley doesn't win, we've seen guys like Dos Anjos. We've seen guys like Junior Dos Santos. We've seen, not Dos Anjos, Junior Dos Santos, we've seen Overeem get cut. Guys who were champions at one point but they get paid too much money to be losing this many fights in a row. And I think that's the position Woodley sees himself in this fight. I think that's when somebody's most dangerous, when their back is to the corner. And Vicente Luque is a guy who gets touched a lot. I'm not a big Woodley fan, man. But Roland, can he pull the trigger? Because that's what this is going to come down to.
I think it all depends on his approach. I mean, I think listening to a couple of interviews from him earlier this week, he's like, everybody was just boxing me into this guy being having a heavy right hand. And the thing is, people solved it. People evolved, and after him beating Kevin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Wonder Boy, after the boring draw with Wonder Boy, then Damian Maia and Darren Till, and then the Till win was just
that was too early. That was too early for Till.
Completely, and I think that fight was a little. I think we were all kind of bored. I think it was kind of like last week's fight, where it wasn't that the one where he took him down and just held him down the way Brunson did Holland.
Well, he knocked him out
and choked him out.
Even the second, he might have dropped him and then choked him. Some shit.
Yeah, he choked him out. And then they threw him Usman, and Usman was on the come up, And I think his spirit got crushed. Woodley's whenever he didn't show up to Usman, and since then it's just an identity crisis.
And it was Usman, and then Covington, and then Burns, and all three guys just ran through him the same way. But those guys are constant forward pressure. Takedown is in the it's in the bag. He can bust it out. How do you see Luque approaching this fight? Does he go in and stalk him like the other guys have? Does he try and mix in a takedown, or is it just all standing up?
I think Luque, I don't think he has the skill set of Burns or Usman or the power, the way to put his body on Woodley and just kind of just keep it close and keep his forehead under his chin. I don't think that Luque has that, so I don't know. And I think going off of that, everybody being afraid of his right hand, I think with Usman, Burns, and Covington, exactly what you said, they just kept that forward pressure and they just kept coming. And he's so used to people being afraid of getting caught, so they don't throw anything. So that gives him feints and ways to be able to get in there and swing at the fences to knock people out. But Usman, Burns, and Covington, they took a completely different approach. Instead of waiting for him to throw and catch him, they went straight at him, and it worked perfectly because I don't think he'd ever faced that. So he was caught off guard 3 straight times. And exactly what you said, I think he gets cut if he loses. I think it's like with Conor, he figured out ways to make money other avenues. I think with fighting, with the commentary, he tried rapping. And I think he's making money in a lot of different places.
Got that Wiz Khalifa feature, baby.
He sure did. And I think I think it just when it's like Conor said, if they were making what I was making, they wouldn't fight. If you made $4 million a fight, it wouldn't even matter. I mean, the desperation's not there. And I hope Woodley can pull it off with that big of being an underdog, so I can make some money.
That's a lot of value. That's value. Yeah, I'm saying I'm not a Woodley fan, but at that price, I like him. Luque can get hit. And the one thing is Luque's always in badass fights because he fucking brings it. But it's going to be up to Woodley because he's been putting on snooze fest, and I wouldn't blame them for cutting him because he ain't putting out UFC material. His last 3 fights have not been UFC material. I mean, if somebody would have seen him fight these last 3 guys and you would have told them that guy was champion for 2 years, they would have called you a fucking liar. He just hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked good. Do you have anything else before we close out with that fight, Roland?
I think at the end of the day, people just lost interest with Woodley. I think it just became him bickering with the UFC for a while. Then he started losing. It's one thing to bicker and be winning, but to bicker and be losing, I think people just went on to the next storyline.
That's fair. I hope the guy does win. I hope for his sake, I do hope that he wins. So, but man, the fight that the rematch, 3 years in the making? And the crazy thing about those 3 years is Stipe has only fought one other opponent since the last time that he fought Ngannou. He's been in the octagon 3 times with DC in those 3 years since that last Ngannou fight. So we got Francis Ngannou coming in challenging Stipe for the title. We got Ngannou coming in as a favorite again because for the first fight he was a favorite, much steeper. This time only at -130. The comeback on Stipe at +110, so a little bit better than even odds on the champ. And arguably the best heavyweight of all time in a lot of people's eyes. Most title defenses as a heavyweight. Been there with Ngannou, gutted it out. Has Ngannou improved enough for this fight to go differently? or are we still looking KO or bust in the first 10 minutes of the fight?
I think it kind of has to be. I think with Ngannou's last 4 fights, 45 seconds, 26 seconds, 71 seconds, 20 seconds.
So how much better has he gotten, Roland? Has he gotten better?
Or has he just gotten better
minutes
accuracy?
Of octagon time and in 4 fights? Has the accuracy, is it better? But he's not, this is a champ. It's not Rosenstrike. It's not Curtis Blades,
It's those ring miles that Stipe has, that the deep waters that he's been in with Cormier. I think that's all going to play into effect, and it's just how can Francis respond if it does go that far? Is he going to have the cardio? Is he and of course, I think that sports psychologist that he got has done him wonders. I mean, we saw him come out after the last fight. He fought Derek Lewis, lost that boring decision, and I think his spirit was crushed even further. And just hearing him talk, I mean, I was reading an article on ESPN today, and they're calling Miocic the Rodney Dangerfield, because it's like you said right now, the best MMA. And I think they were asking, who are they asking? I forgot who it was, but they were asking him if Miocic was the greatest of all time, and he was like, greatest of all time? No, that's Emelianenko. Like everybody,
Fedor.
Yeah, and everybody was just kind of giving him a crap. Nobody gives him his flowers for doing
what he does.
And
they don't. On this show,
because
aside from me, he gets no respect. Justin and Roland, they have no respect for Fireman Stipe. No
Fireman
respect at
Stipe.
all. What side of the fence were you on the first time they fought? When Ngannou was coming off of all those crazy KOs, were you siding when Ngannou was going to be the champ or Stipe? Because I was thinking the first time Ngannou was going to beat him. He was just too crazy. He was built too crazy.
Completely. And I mean, like I mentioned earlier, 3 years into fighting, already getting a heavyweight shot. I mean, Ngannou's story, that storyline that the UFC can run with. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, titles don't mean anything. It's more about the narrative they can build with the champion. And I think Ngannou's story, 10 years old, not being able to afford a pen and a notebook, migrating north on foot for 14 months to like make it out of where he came from. And I mean, even his social media, you see him going and like breaking rocks with his family in Africa, like still. And
there's a reason he looks the way he looks, man. The guy, he's a savage. He's been through some shit.
Completely. And that storyline for the UFC and what it can do for like the UFC's presence in Africa. And it's just like, I think it's all in how patient he's had to be for this title shot while the heavyweight championship was held up for years. And he talks about it now. He talks about, man, I just knew 2021. I had to wait till 2021 for things to play out. And I mean, I can't imagine thinking that in the middle of 2018, having that patience. And I think that's where the sports psychologist comes in and realizing the acceptance of him not having control of anything besides of getting in the ring and performing. And I think it's just his interviews this week. He looks a little more anxious than Miocic. Like he looks a little, Francis looks a little nervous, but I think Miocic doesn't have as much pressure on him. I think Miocic is just, it's like he says, he relies on the UFCs to promote his fights. He doesn't let his kids watch his own fights. To anybody he meets, he tells them he's a firefighter. Like the business is not Miocic. You know what I mean? But what they can do with Ngannou's brand and build that, oh man, him winning would just change everything.
Him winning would make it 3 African champs in the UFC to go along with Adesanya and Usman. And I mean, bro, this guy is, I mean, when you think heavyweight champion, you couldn't fucking sculpt this guy if you tried. I mean, like he's one, like, I mean, he is one of a kind. Like he is a monster. You look at him and you think heavyweight champion, you think baddest man on the planet. But Stipe finds ways to get it done. The fight IQ, the longevity. I wonder how heavy he's going to come in. I know for the DC fights, he was coming in a lot lighter. I don't think that would serve him that well because he's going to want to be trying to get Francis down. I think that's his path to victory, is trying to get the fight to the ground. I have Stipe gutting it out, man. I have him getting caught. That's the crazy thing, though. Like, how could I have him getting caught and not finished when the guy catching him is Ngannou? I mean, he's going to be in trouble, but first 7 minutes, first 10 minutes, get through it, Stipe, and I think after the first round, he'll settle in, and if the fight goes past the first round, it's going to get very interesting. But I have Stipe winning, especially at these odds again. The champ as an underdog, I mean, there's maybe after this fight, they'll give the guy some respect.
Even then it's going to be, oh, he did it against Ngannou. We already knew that. Can he do it against John?
John Jones. He'll definitely be an underdog to John Jones, too.
Again, and then he goes and pulls it out again. And is there anything left for him? I mean, he's reaching
Derek
his
Lewis.
late 30s. I mean,
Derek Lewis.
Right?
That'd be it. And he would be a favorite in that fight. That would be a fight where I'd say he's going to be a favorite going into that one.
I feel with Lewis's style, I feel like he would just get picked apart. Like, the way it was going for him in this last fight with who did he just fight? Rosenstruck?
Blades, before Blades.
Blades, there you go. Where he was getting picked apart those first 2 rounds and just waiting, and then it just timed out perfectly.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, man. Well, bro, I'm looking forward to the card. Where you're gonna be watching it, I'm sure. Where are you gonna watch it at?
Oh yeah, man. I'm always at home. I'm a homebody, so it's usually just me and my vibe.
I'm planning a little barbecue here for Saturday. Invite some of my wife's family, but pumped, man. Pumped to see that fight. I mean, the card definitely it lost some pizzazz with the other title fight getting canceled, but it's the heavyweights. I'm really curious to see how much better Francis Ngannou has gotten.
I think he needs the ring time too. I would like to see it go. I would love to see it go all 5 and finish in the 5th, but I want to see Ngannou get tested because we know that's what's going to happen with John. I mean, if Ngannou wins for any miraculous reason, he's still going to need to practice the distance with John because John's not going to go out there. John has the mentalness, the mental IQ to not go in there completely, and so I would like to see it go long, but with Francis winning it. But I just think I'm crossing my fingers real bad. I really want it to happen for him.
All right, that's fair. All right, Roland. Well, I appreciate you joining me, man, especially on short notice. But your debut on We Talking About Sports, it was way past due. It was way past due.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate you stopping by, man. Hey, but not last time. As long as it's not last time caller. But, all right, Roland. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. Later.
All right.